All right, so everybody knows academic papers, right? Super important, tons of groundbreaking research. But,
Not exactly light reading.
yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes it feels like you need a PhD just to understand the abstract. Today, we're going to look at something super interesting. It might actually change the way we digest all that complex academic stuff. We're talking about turning academic papers into, wait for it, podcasts.
Podcast. Yeah, that's right.
I'm so curious about this. Tell me everything.
So academicjobs.com, they're running this pilot program where they take research papers and turn them into professionally produced podcasts.
Mm. So they're not just like reading the paper out loud, are they?
Oh, no, definitely not. This is about repackaging the research to be more accessible. Imagine, you're on Spotify or YouTube just chilling,
Mhm.
and suddenly you're learning about the latest breakthroughs in, I don't know, quantum physics or something.
Okay, so that's the big idea then. Taking research out of the ivory tower and bringing it to the people.
Exactly. Think about all the potential here. Instead of just being stuck in academic journals, this research could reach a global audience. I mean, anybody with a smartphone could potentially stumble upon it.
That's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? That kind of reach.
Totally. And not just about the reach either. Think about the collaborations that could happen. You could have, a historian researching 18th century trade routes, and suddenly they come across a podcast by an economist who's modeling similar networks today.
That's really interesting. You know, they might never have crossed paths otherwise.
Exactly. That's the kind of cross-disciplinary spark this program could ignite.
So you mentioned professionally produced. What does that even mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do you turn a dry research paper into something, well, listenable?
Right. So you've got to find the narrative thread within the research. Then you can highlight the key findings, maybe use some sound design to spice things up.
Sound design, huh?
Yeah. Make it a bit more immersive. And they might even weave in interviews with the author or other experts in the field.
Oh, like a real podcast, not just a robot voice
Yep.
reading a paper.
Yeah. It's a whole new way of thinking about communicating these complex ideas.
I remember back in college, I had to read this astrophysics paper.
Oh, no.
So dense, so technical. I swear, if there'd been a podcast version, I might have actually understood it.
Yeah.
But, okay, so this pilot program, how many academics get to have their work turned into a podcast?
They're starting with 8. And here's the kicker. It's completely free for them.
Free.
Free. Aside from a small admin fee, there's no cost to the researcher.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, especially considering the exposure they're going to get.
Absolutely. It's not just Spotify and YouTube either. Academicjobs.com, they'll be featuring these podcasts in a special featured academic podcast slot on their platform.
That's massive exposure, especially for someone early in their career.
Definitely. Huge for anyone trying to, make a splash in their field.
I have to ask, though, does all this extra exposure come with any risks?
Yeah, that's a good point. Anytime you broaden your audience,
Yeah.
there's always a chance the work could be, I don't know, maybe misinterpreted or taken out of context.
True. It'll be interesting to see how researchers deal with that potential downside.
Yeah, it's something to watch for sure.
So, big picture time. Do you think this is going to change things? Like, will we see more accessible research? Will academics even change the way they communicate their findings?
Tough to say. It's so early. But it's a bold experiment. I mean, it could revolutionize the way we share and consume academic knowledge.
I love that revolution. It's so dramatic. But seriously, this could be a real turning point, democratizing access to research, new collaborations, maybe even a whole new style of academic communication.
Mhm.
Fascinating stuff.
It really is. And you know what? It makes me wonder, could this model work for other types of information? Like, what about legal documents, financial reports, government policies? I mean, those can be just as dense and jargon-filled as academic papers, right? Could we make them more accessible and engaging through podcasts?
Mind blown. Okay, listeners, you heard it here first. We're asking the tough questions. What do you think? Our podcast, The Future of Knowledge Sharing. Hit us up on social media platform and let's discuss.